Good morning. Lovely to be here with all of you on this gorgeous spring day. And guess what? It's been a while since I practiced my joke telling. So in Canada, a lot of us are sort of winding down or doing our best with tax season. Is that true here too? Oh, good. So, all the people you don't call, in my case, people who work in that field. And once again, my delivery might need some work, but the words are Seinfeld, so I hope they make you giggle like they do me every time. He says, which is really crushing our lives more, paying the taxes or doing the taxes? He says, to me, the sad thing about doing your taxes is when you realize that all you have to show for another whole year of activity is a shoebox full of receipts. He says, so then I empty it out and I start again, filling it up. That's what I'm doing with my life. I'm filling up the shoeboxes with little pieces of paper and showing them to the government. I wish, instead of doing my taxes, I could just take my shoebox straight to Washington, D.C., right to the IRS, and just go, here, look, it's the same box as last year. Do we have to go through this again? So thank you, Jerry, for that light touch. My talk this morning touches a very personal part of my growth. One of my biggest transitional moments in my life, as well as the lessons that just never seem to stop, including this week illustrating them. So I would just like to call attention to the scriptures that have inspired my message this morning, and they are taken both from Joshua in the Old Testament and John in the New Testament. And this provided for me a type of balance, which is really what the talk is about this morning. Yes, it's about wisdom, but it's about the hard lesson that some of us learn, starting with me, that love needs to be tempered by, balanced with wisdom. Those are twin powers in Unity's teachings. The first scripture comes from the book of Joshua, chapter 24, verse 15. And it reads, then choose you this day whom you will serve. Choose you this day whom you will serve. And from John, chapter 7, verse 24. Stop judging by mere appearances and judge rightly. There's an assignment for the rest of my life. To look away from appearances and from snap judgments and to look for the reality that is present behind every appearance, no matter how seductive. Love and wisdom are twin powers. They are twin attributes. Wisdom combines with love to be effective in any situation when we remember to call on both of them. Some of my hardest lessons have come in learning by contrast that wisdom, really a tool of the intellect when we think about it, and wisdom can be cold without love. When I'm balanced in my use of both love and wisdom, then I know that my wisdom power, actually centered in the solar plexus or the gut, trusting your gut feeling. And so what happens when wisdom becomes a runaway train, not balanced with love? It's cold. The intellect can become not only argumentative, but also arrogant. And any one of us can then, using wisdom by itself, become more invested in being right about any given thing than being happy. So most of us here, I think this morning, in person and on Zoom, make conscious efforts each day to make sure that our happiness is more important than being right. Yeah, so wait till you hear about my opportunities to do just that this week. If love works and becomes a runaway train without its partner wisdom, then poor decisions can be made. Decisions that are not rational when love is by itself, zooming ahead. Love without wisdom inevitably will lead to confusion if it's not balanced by wisdom. And so experience for any one of us teaches us that when our gifts of love and wisdom are harmonized, we really have peace. And may this peace be always a top value for us, because that's what got me through the last couple of weeks, was reminding myself, what is my top value next to my relationship with God and me? It is my peace of mind. Because when you have experienced, as I have, peace of mind being shattered, broken, seemingly irretrievably through any kind of emotional breakdown, never again is there anything more important than peace. So before I share with you the stories of my credit card that was declined, my neighbors deciding to put up a fence in my property, and a couple of others that by the grace of God I'm not remembering right now, I will first share with you this very important teaching that's been around even in the race consciousness, and that is the right brain that we access and the left brain. So I find during April, when in Unity we focus on the spiritual power of wisdom, that as I review how well I'm balancing these two, it's helpful for me to look at the attributes of the right brain. I remember teaching this to young people, and they're constantly being flabbergasted or confused or bewildered about keeping them straight. And so I always did an association thing for them where just think of the L, right, in the left brain dealing with logic. So the territory or the domain of the left brain is to gather facts, to use reason over emotion, to be logical. Maybe you know someone who doesn't do anything without consulting experts or doing research. I have a son-in-law like that, bless his heart. Or looking for counsel from someone that we deem an expert in that field, making a plan. And if you have control issues from the past, you might even try to consider the consequences and probabilities before you make a decision. So you can hear in each of those attributes of the left brain the potential for there to be a runaway train. It just is not balanced to only think about the facts, to only do your research, and to not balance that with the attributes of the love that really is our true identity. And so the right brain, which is, I remember the R as real, the real part of us, is that right brain that lives in the heart, that is heart-centered, that gets hunches, that gets intuitively a feeling of what's right, and above all, of training myself to listen so that the still small voice can be heard. Other attributes, I guess, or ways that I know that I'm accessing my right brain is that I notice synchronicities. And maybe you have too. And notice the response you get, like I did this week. I said to a new acquaintance, oh, wow, so, you were biking, you're a bike person, and you passed your son-in-law twice who works for the utilities company on your bike route? And he said, yeah, coincidences. And I said, wow, there really are no coincidences, And he said, oh, yes, there are. And of course, if we're not looking to notice synchronicities, we will not see them. One other thing that I'm sure you've already practiced in Unity that is a function of the right brain is developing intuition. I remember years ago going to a workshop in Lansing here about how to develop your intuition. And the only thing I remember about that workshop is that the woman said to me, do you know what? Actually, I think you're okay tapping into your heart. She said, I think you might need a little balance. So I'm going to show you an exercise because I think you're with a lot of people, right? And of course, that time I was teaching large groups every day, all day. So she taught me this exercise I've never forgotten. Is to put a pink shield around my heart whenever I was going to be in an unknown field of energy or just about anything. And so that's honoring the inner tutor, the teacher within. So that's the first thing I wanted to share. It's just this balance that we're always looking for between the right brain, which is heart-centered, and the left brain, which is logical. One of the most powerful prayers that can call me on the 1st of April, right back to the harmony between love and wisdom that I always want, is one that I learned in ministerial school, probably in the first year, from Reverend Ruth Mosley, at a time when I have to say I don't really think I understood its power. It's only in using it over and over that it became clear to me, wow, I am Christ-controlled, and she would put her hand on her heart. I am Christ-controlled, and third eye, I am God-directed. I am Christ-controlled. The Christ of us lives in the heart. That's the spark of the divine in us. I am Christ-controlled and God-directed. So some of you have heard me say that one of my favorite talks, and if you'd like me to do it here, I don't think I actually have with an actual visual, but one of my favorite talks is about looking for the gift in whatever happens to you. And Tony Robbins helped me take a shortcut to looking for a gift in whatever happens, because he said, ask yourself the question, when you least can and you really don't want to, what's good about this situation that I haven't thought about yet? So last Sunday, I was really not in a good place to receive a phone call from my neighbors who are interesting teachers, shall we say. And I was on my way to a birthday party for my dad's best man, an hour and a half away. I had some anxiety about it because my brother, who's been in cutoff with me since December, was going to be in the vehicle, and lo and behold, right on divine appointment, there's my neighbor. She started out very bizarrely, which it frankly is kind of in character for her. Hey, Roz, did you know that you own 2 feet of our backyard, like on the other side of your garage? And I said, no, I didn't want to say, and I don't care either. So I said, no, I didn't know that. She said, well, listen. She said, the lawyer who lived in your house for 40 years, he actually knew that. And so he always put his compost in our backyard, staying within the 2 feet. And I thought, this is all very interesting. Mm-hmm. Well, then it led to the fact that even though there's a perfectly effective chain link fence there, she and her husband and dog are going to put up a 5-foot wooden fence, and was I okay with that? And I said, well, as long as it's in your property, I don't see an issue. So that was Sunday. I didn't get home till Wednesday. And on Wednesday, there were huge yellow painted lines, 2 feet in my property. And so I thought, wow, what's good about this that I haven't thought about yet? I am Christ controlled and God directed. And the gift that came through right away was, oh my goodness, I guess we really don't know what kind of a support system that we have until we learn to ask for help. And trust me, I knew what this lesson was about. I knew that was it for me. It was to assert myself. It was to find my voice. But you hear how that was confusing for me while also keeping my top value of my peace of mind? I could really give a flying fig about where the property line is. So I called a lawyer friend who said, yeah, a survey's about $2,000 if you go to City Hall. So I thought, okay, check that off. I'm not doing that. Then I called another friend who said, oh, well, I can rent, what's it called? A metal detector, and we'll find where the stakes are. I thought, oh, that's fun. And all of that felt to me like engaging at the level of the vibration of the yellow paint on my property. And I thought, this does not help my peace of mind. So how can I both access love of myself, mostly because I'm conflict averse, slowly seeking to heal that? How can I love myself but also do the wise thing? So it may not sound like a lot to you, but it was for me to text them and say, hi, apparently I missed something in your text on Sunday, and I would like to reevaluate your plan to put a fence on the property line. I didn't say my. On the property line. So would you be willing to let me know when you have a few minutes for that conversation? Do you guys say crickets over here? Mm-hmm. Yeah, crickets. So, one of the teachings in communication is that in some contexts, silence can actually be violence. And so I let that evening go by, Christ controlled, God directed. And so the next day I sent, because I had come to my left brain by then and thought, you know what? I don't really think they have yellow paint and a flag in their possession. So I initiated again. Hi, just wondering if maybe that yellow paint and the flag is about utilities. Were you looking for my gas line? I'm just hoping that the fence stays in your property. I didn't put a smiley face because I'm not sure that would have been sincere. They did not answer until the next day, at which point they said, yes, that's what it is. The fence will not encroach on your property. Guess what? I'm free. I'm liberated. Love, wisdom, until the next chapter. The truth is, using logic and love, we can balance our responses. Now, mind you, I did talk to 3 or 4 people, including someone here who gave me an excellent suggestion. Just take a picture of the, just in case you need it. I thought, wow, I wouldn't have thought of that. And do I need someone to come and find the stakes right now? No. I will bring you to my next example, which is that I update my will every few years, every 3 or 4 years, and I hadn't since the pandemic. So I had good advice to add my daughter's name to the deed of my house for this time. And so, discussing with my lawyer what that would look like, she said, well, I'm retiring, but my daughter's taking over for me, and I just want you to know that my clients are not responding very well to her. She said, so we're not sure when that's going to happen. Well, guess when it happened? On Friday, when I drove an hour and 10 minutes in the pouring rain to honor the time of my appointment, and the lawyer, the daughter, wasn't there. Why are we unkind to the receptionists? I tried not to be. But I said, I've been with Joyce for 35 years. Smile. She's never been late once. Oh, I know. I hope her daughter will be here soon. If you see her, she's coming with her dog. Great. Georgie is his name. What I'd like to tell you about love, wisdom, I'm Christ-controlled and God-directed, is that unlike Joyce, who never handed me an invoice during our meeting, her daughter did. And when I looked at it, I almost fell off my chair because it was fully 3 times any invoice I've ever had. So I thought, balance, wisdom, love. She could see my reaction. She said, is everything okay? And I said, no. And she said, oh. And then she explained to me that it is quite a legal transaction involving, guess what else? The deed, because she has to go through a number of transactions. It's not an easy one. And so the huge cost that you see is actually reflective of your request that we do that this time. So then she proceeded to tell me that would save me $8,000 to $10,000 in probate if I hadn't done it, which I happen to know might be true because we're dealing with my parents' estate right now. So back to gratitude, back to love and wisdom. When we think about this balance, when I said, that I called people, that's new for me to ask for help. So when I called people about this fence issue, I recognized that love or leaning too heavily, right, on another person can also be getting swayed and losing access to my frontal lobe. If you're wondering whether you lead with love and whether sometimes you're out of balance in terms of including the wisdom, some of the other features of love as a runaway train is the decision to make a choice. Choose you this day whom you will serve, because judgment, wisdom, the discernment faculty, which we position in unity at the gut, is about accessing the frontal lobe. So if we aren't doing that and we're just running ahead with love, we might make spontaneous, ill-advised decisions. We might even postpone the decision indefinitely. And all of these, of course, are techniques in avoidance and in not asking the wisdom of God within us to guide us, to allow us to invoke both faculties, both powers. So as we move through this week, the gift of this week of spring, I invite you to join me in using that affirmation. I am Christ controlled. That's the love that I am. I am Christ controlled and God directed. Discernment is a word that has a lovely root. It has the same root word as science, S-C-I-O, which in Latin, sciare, is to know a thing, to be knowledgeable. So when I am in my discernment mode, I am actually knowing through the wisdom of God in me a thing. I'm not relying on my intellect. I'm not relying on just my support network to make a decision. I am actually discerning. I am seeking the wisdom of God. The wisdom of God is waiting for me to tap into it. There is a lovely scripture in James 3:17 which reads, "The wisdom that is from above is first pure and then peaceful." So that's James 3, verse 17. The wisdom that is from above is first pure and then peaceable. Like, there's the answer. Often I will get asked the question, well, how do I know that I'm equally using my love faculty and my left brain? Because there's a feeling of peace before a decision is made. You could hear that when I first saw the paint on the lawn, on my side of the fence in the driveway, I did not have peace. Then I remembered, oh, right, you're teaching about wisdom and love and balance. Where are you right now? In your left brain, Roz, or in your right brain? So I had one more interesting experience where I needed to bring both of those attributes of the divine into harmony. I had some plastering work done. I have an old house and want to preserve the integrity of it, and the plasterer said he really needed a credit card from me. So I gave him the credit card that I've had for 35 years because I got it when I was 5. And it has the highest limit on it, and it was declined. And so I went, wow, love and wisdom. I am Christ-controlled and God-directed. This guy doesn't know me well. You know, it was a large amount, declined. So we called the bank, and they said, oh, yeah, this is out of character for you. You've never done more than a couple of $100 a month. And I said, well, this is me. And they said, yeah, I know, that's nice, but you have to go to a branch, and the nearest branch was 25 minutes away, and it closed in 20 minutes. So I went there, and the story gets better in terms of challenging how balanced I felt in both love and wisdom. I managed to get in the office with a bank official, and she immediately got on the phone, and she just looked stricken. She said to me with a very, very stern tone, how did you get this card? I said, I'm not sure I understand the question. She said, well, are you Rosalind Mariconda? Yes. Well, how did you get this card? I said, gosh, I don't know. I've had it for decades. And she said, yeah, well, you don't have a profile. Really? Do you know, it did not occur to me until I went home to think, I don't think computers and profiles were a thing 35 years ago. But hey, I wasn't going to argue with her. So then the fun started because she said, do you have 3 pieces of ID? Sure, no problem. Showed her my passport, my driver's license, and my health card in 2 different names. Because my passport is in my maiden name, Mariconda. My driver's license, because it predates my passport need, is in Edmondson, and my health card is also in Edmondson. Luckily, every time I got sick, I was in that name. And she said, oh, this is a problem. You can't prove that you're you. And then I heard the voice of wisdom, right? You heard the opening song, I am a child of the universe. And I went, thank you very much for your help. And she said, well, I really don't know what you're going to do, but I'm going to have to cancel this card. I said, okay then. And by that time, I was balanced and I was in my God self. This is just an example of trivialities from my life all in 1 week, which made me go in each case, what is good about this that I haven't thought about yet? Well, for one thing, it prepares me for the Sunday talk. Am I just talking the talk or am I walking it? That I'm actually accessing both love and wisdom. How about the fact that it showed me what a close network of people I had when I really needed them to wake me up and go, this is not a crisis. You don't want to fight. You don't care if the extra fence goes in. Your peace can be preserved. And so I leave you this morning with those powerful, powerful words from Reverend Dr. Ruth Mosley, who said to us, I have healed a heart condition, she said. I have healed in record time from 2 knee replacements, from a hip replacement, by merely affirming the truth that I am both male and female, both masculine and feminine, and that I am always Christ-controlled and God-directed. Amen.
Amen.